Hi everyone and welcome to another video. Tonight we're doing league racing with the Apex Point guys and we're at Dragon Trail Gardens for round 3 of season 9 and it's 30 laps with a mandatory medium tyre. So here we are at the start. I'm starting 8th and I do have 3 cars behind me, only 11 starters tonight, which is quite unusual. Normally we'd have a full field. And I have got a couple of quick guys behind me, and in the bottom right hand corner I'm also showing the leaders who are clearly quicker than I'm ever going to be tonight. So I'm going to try and run a one-stop strategy, get a little bit close there at the second turn through this twisty bit, pretty hard if you touch the curbs to not lose the rear end, and the 2 guys behind me sneak through. They're quicker than I am anyway, so happy to be following and watching and making sure that I don't bump into anyone. The Ripper gets a bit locked up going into here and we're still holding on, and Yowie's out on the grass. So I'm down beside Reaper. I'm just not quite sure where he is because I didn't put my radar on before we started, big mistake, and so I ended up out on the grass for fear that he's hard up beside me on the left, so trying to give plenty of room. So no harm done, still going straight, and I'm driving the brand new 992 Porsche that's just been released last week by GT7, and it is an absolute joy to drive. Not as quick as the Ferrari 296 that I had been driving, but much kinder to a novice like me. So coming up towards the end of the first lap and just hanging in there behind the fast guys. Jimmy is behind me and that's all okay. He is a very clean and respectful driver, and we know that if we get near Jimmy he'll give us plenty of room. So down onto the second lap, through here again, tricky, making sure I don't hit any of the sausages here or on the next one, and probably being a bit cautious. The guys ahead of me are getting away, not using all the track, certainly plenty of more space out there on the right at that corner to be used, and running down here to the hairpin, which I didn't find too difficult. Braking marker picked out most early on, and I did turn in early and use all the track. Probably not the line that the fast guys are using, but again, yeah, safe and trying to make sure I stay on track. So just hanging in here behind the 2 fast guys ahead of me, and in the bottom right hand corner you can see that Chuck's still leading the race with Dead Bones pretty close behind, and Bren, all really good fast races and quite close up front at this stage. So I don't expect anyone else to try the one stop, probably for good reason, or the 0 stop, which I'm trying. I'm sure there'll be plenty of one stoppers. So let's get into a view that gives you a little bit more insight into what's going on. So we'll just run chase cam here for a minute and trying to keep the speed up through this corner and not really chew up those medium tyres that I'm running was the order of the evening. Again, down through here, down to first for some rotation, early into second, make sure we don't spin the backs up, and just keeping in touch with those guys up ahead. It's good. You'll see in the bottom right that the lead is being challenged, and Chuck's dropped back now and Bones has got through. So 3 of the front runners are all pretty close. The guys behind aren't that far behind, but that'll be tough for them to keep up with that sort of pace. So down through here you've got to be careful. If you get the 992 too far up on that curb, it'll drag you on the grass and things are pretty ugly. This was a bit of a challenge down through this multi-point turn, trying to get to max speed before we head up here to the final turn before we go into the straight. And Deb Bones had given me some tips in practice earlier on, which I was trying to put into practice going through that curve to come up towards the bridge. And still struggling to get the exact line that I needed, whilst at the same time looking after those tyres. So we're settling to a fairly decent rhythm, down into the 36 and 37s. The guys at the front will be running 34s easily enough, and I think probably even better than that. So you see in the bottom right hand corner a bit of a tete-a-tete between the two at the front, and we've got a spin, and we've got Bren who's moved through into the lead because of that. So they're racing hard. It's also allowed the car in fourth to tack on to the back of them. So this will be a lot about tyre strategy. No fuel strategy. There's plenty of fuel, at least in the Porsche anyway. I didn't need to put any fuel in it, so I'm sure the guys up ahead are probably in a similar vein. But those two AMG Mercs are very, very quick. Very, very quick. So they're getting well and truly down the track. If you can see where they are compared to, I'm still coming up under the bridge, and those guys are down, almost crossing the start-finish line before I ever get to the top of the main straight. So there's quite a decent time difference, but I'm holding on. I'm pretty comfortable with how I'm driving for my standard on the evening. So I get another reduction in my lap time and get it back down a little bit more again, and just staying in touch with the guys ahead. So trying to not make any errors, trying to be cautious, saving the tyres as much as I can, staying off the curbs, and just focusing on apexes and exits. Okay, so we're not going to bore you with 30 laps of the same, and we'll move ahead and let's see how this all starts to pan out. As the pit stopping drivers start to pit stop and see whether my strategies are actually going to help me gain any ground on the guys up front. So let's skip forward and see where we got to. Okay, so we'll skip forward to lap 10, and you can see it's pretty much the same order of the day. I'm a little bit closer to Yowie at this stage. I've picked up a little bit of time, and we've all picked up a place due to an off track for Willie, who's behind us at the moment. He's had a spin, and that's gifted us a place. So I don't think anyone's been into the pits in that period of time other than Jimmy, and I'm not quite sure. I think he's just trying out a few different strategies with his car. So we'll come back again shortly and see how it pans out with the pit stops, which I'm expecting probably at about halfway. And there's, you can see Jimmy in the pits again, trying some different things. Okay, let's come back shortly. Here we are at lap 12, and the pit stops have already started. You can see Gravel Rash, who's already stopped, is just catching me now, and Rooster's just gone in for his stop. So I've picked up a couple of places, but of course these cars coming up behind me are on much fresher tyres. You can see in the bottom left hand corner that I've still got plenty of tread really. I've got a bit of a tap there for my trouble. Get out of the way, Derek, you're holding everyone up. So I've still got plenty of tyres, and this Porsche is very good. It doesn't mind worn tyres, it still drives very well, very predictable, very stable. So I'm still pretty happy. I've done a few practice races with a no stop, and it worked out okay. I just have to make sure I don't really push them too hard in this racing condition. So here comes some of the other faster cars behind me now, and I'll be losing a couple of places here in short succession as the faster guys come through. Willie taking a while to catch back up after his spin, but he's here now in the earlier 991 Porsche, I think it is, versus my new model 992. So he'll slip up the inside here, I think, pretty quickly, and we'll be able to settle back into our rhythm again. So there he goes. Got a neat move. I left him plenty of room on the inside. That's where I expected him to go, and so nice neat move, although he did get a little bit squirrely on the grass there on the way out, but he caught it up pretty quickly, and no harm done to his race. You can see that I'm just sitting in there behind him and not really pushing the envelope in trying to get past him, because there's not much point. He's just going to be quicker overall as the race goes on. So we can see the pit stops have started, and we'll see how each of the drivers decides to manage their tyres. We've got one of the AMGs coming up behind us now, Grumpy, who's also been in and got a new set of boots on that car, and that AMG, quite a quick machine, and we'll give him plenty of space when the time comes, when he gets close enough. We're not losing a lot of time to these guys on the fresh tyres, but nonetheless they will get past without too much trouble, and we won't be making it too hard for them, as we don't need to. Although he understeers straight across the corner and pushes me wide. Luckily didn't do too much damage, and we both stayed on track, but I had left him a lot of room, so he should have been able to get through there without coming across and getting into the side of me, I think. Anyway, let's see, go forward. I have a little bit of a moment there at the top corner, losing my rhythm, but I settle back in pretty quickly. Okay, let's move forward to the pit stoppers, who are going to stop later in the event, obviously running the soft option towards the end rather than earlier in the race, I suspect, although I'm not 100% sure, because you just never know unless you can be on top of the tyre choice early on when people are coming and going from the pits, and I'm usually too busy keeping my eyes on the road to get across that sort of detail. Okay, we'll be jump forward again. Okay, so I think this is about the last of the pit stops. Reba's coming now on 19, and Chucky came in on 15, Brent came in on 17. Not sure why Rooster's behind me, unless he's been off track, but didn't notice a pit stop, but I could have missed it in all of the fun. So Ramos, Ghost, he's just going in as well on 19, and so is going to fall in behind a few of us as we cross the line for one more circuit. So Rooster gets through. Ramos gets out of the pits ahead of me. Oh, that was a pretty quick stop. Wow, okay. So it just shows that you can get in and out fairly quickly here. I was contemplating at this stage some tyres, but I misinterpreted what I was seeing on the leaderboard with Jimmy. Was telling me, I thought that he was within a pit stop behind me, but in fact I didn't realise he parked up and he was no longer circulating. So I could have gone in at this stage quite safely and put some tyres on and not being too far behind any of these people. Yeah, you can see at 2/3 race distance I've got about half my tyre life left, except for the rear on the right hand side, which is a little bit more worn at this track. But again, as I said earlier, it didn't really affect the way the car performed, and I'm still churning out mid 37s, which I've been doing all evening pretty much, so it was still worth the gamble, I thought, to just stick with the original strategy that we decided upon. And out front you can see that Chucky's actually managed to undercut the other two contenders for the podium, but his tyres are a couple of laps older, so we'll have a look at how that pans out over the last few laps of this race. I'm still circulating, I'm still hanging in there behind the guys that I would expect to hang in behind. I would expect some of these guys behind me to come through on their newer tyres before we get to the end, because still plenty of laps for them to catch and pass me. And you can see behind me in the distance the cars starting to close me down. So with 10 laps basically left to go, let's see how this pans out. And it pans out straight into the barrier on the right, and apologies to Willie for rolling back across the track there. That was not part of the plan. Pretty annoyed with myself. I had worked really hard to not have an off track tonight, which is usually my downfall. I just had tried slightly pushing a little bit harder on that corner. I thought I wasn't really using enough of the track, and got up over the sausage curb and just caught the back. You can see how this car does not like sausage curbs. It gets very unstable very quickly, so that was a lesson to be learned as I go forward with this car. Stay off the bumps. That probably didn't cost me a lot of time. I was pretty lucky to get back on the track without too much dramas, and in fact a couple of the guys have been into the pits for tyres anyway, so I could have been even further up the road if I hadn't have been so aggressive. Learn from that one. So we're getting towards the end of the race. I can see Yowie, who I've been behind for nearly the whole race, and very close again. I just pushing, overdriving there, off on the dirt, and this will allow Yowie to catch up pretty quickly, and he'll have a much better set of tyres here. He can actually almost go around the outside of me there, but yeah, up the inside, I would think, when we get up here to the horseshoe. Let's see, what does he decide to do? Yep, pushes up on the inside. Nice clean move. I gave him plenty of room. It's what I expected he would be doing with those new tyres, and mine are pretty sad at this stage. Again, I was contemplating whether I shouldn't have gone in for some, but I was still seeing Jimmy on the board there and thinking, well, he's within a tyre change. If I come out, I'll be behind him, which of course I wouldn't have been, because he was quite a few laps behind at this stage, having been parked up. Something else to learn going forward for an old bloke. Okay, I can see in the background Willie as well, who's been in the pits. He'll have a great new set of tyres on as well. So you can see here I'm just trying to protect those tyres, not trying to go as straight as possible, not push the limits too much, learning to stay off the sausages and stay straight ahead as much as I can. Let's jump forward then and see how we finish up. Okay, well, the leaders started in the final lap, and I'm pretty happy with how things have gone tonight. For a start, I haven't been lapped by any of the really fast guys. We can see that my speed is probably 4 or 5 seconds a lap off what Dead Bones has been able to do with that 32.7, and that's a very impressive lap. In foundation, well done for that lap, and you can also see that Chucky's really pulled away from the rest, and he's in a fairly safe place with Bren behind him, and then Dead Bones, Reaper filling the podium positions. So pretty good race all round, and well done to those guys on the podium. They had a little bit of a tangle early, but it settled into a very competitive race there through the middle until Chucky got the undercut and pulled away. And I haven't got much tyres left, as you can see in that bottom left corner, but I'm still doing 37s and 38s on even on those tyres, so not a bad outcome for the evening. And at this stage it looked like I was going to finish P10, but the guy in P9 gets a penalty and I get elevated to P9, so not sure what that was for. I guess maybe a mandatory tyre change that wasn't done correctly, but at the end of the day we'll take whatever we can get. They don't come easy when you're at my level, so just happy, a little bit sorry to have that spin around lap 20, 21, whenever it was, but that was just really trying too hard when I shouldn't have been pushing. That's a much better the line there you can see on this final lap, and I'm just pretty well taking it easy now, knowing that those tyres are going to give up the ghost at any moment, so not pushing real hard at this stage, just trying to get to the end, and the fuel is absolutely perfect. You can see that we just had exactly enough to do our 30 laps, so this is a very nice car to drive, and I can highly recommend it, particularly for any of the novices out there, the newcomers to the league. So thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed that, and we will see you all on track. Bye for now.